soon, guys. Thank you.
No, thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Good. Okay, so we're going to welcome our next speaker, who's Michaela Zhabakova, Customer Success Manager at Freshworks. So Michaela will be hosting a Q&A with James Farley, BizOps Support Lead, and Josh Brown, Information Technology Engineer at Simply Business. Welcome, Michaela. I think you might be on mute there, Michaela.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great stuff.
Awesome. Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Michaela Zayacova, and I am a Customer Success Manager at Freshworks. I've been working in tech for 3.5 years now, and before that, I also spent 2.5 years in media. At Freshworks, I mostly focus on Freshservice, which is our cloud-based IT service management solution. And I work with a portfolio of Freshservice customers, of which Simply Business is one of them. And my focus is to help our customers get the most out of our product and essentially improve their service desk offering. A bit of a background about Freshworks, if you don't know us. We're a multi-product cloud-based company with over 4,000 employees across 11 offices worldwide. And we work with over 175,000 clients. Our journey started in 2010 with Freshdesk. Our first product, Freshdesk, is a customer support software. And back then, the company was also called Freshdesk. But in 2014, we launched Freshservice, our ITSM tool, and we rebranded to Freshworks. Since then, we've grown our portfolio to a total of 12 products, including Fresh CRM for sales and marketing, Freshchat and Freshcaller, our chat and telephony solutions, and many more. And as a company, our mission is to build software that is affordable, quick to implement, and designed for the end user. So very intuitive and easy to use. And today, I'm joined by James Farley and Josh Brown from Simply Business, and we will be talking about how they launched Freshservice ITSM solution at their organization, what were their challenges, and how they evolved over time. So James, Josh, over to you to introduce yourself. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role and about Simply Business?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to go first. So my name is James Farley, and I'm the BizOps Support Lead at Simply Business. My role is very much a kind of IT support manager kind of role, so I look after the whole first and second line functions within the business. We're an insurtech, so we've got about 1,000 users. We support 3 different device types. We've got Chromebooks, MacBooks, and Windows devices, and we've got presence in the UK and in the US.
Yeah, I'm Josh. I work directly for James in a kind of a second line support role. So in our BizOps team, which is what we call our IT function, we have 3 teams really: service desk, support, and infrastructure. Yeah, I sit between service desk and the team that manages our internal infrastructure. And a lot of my role over the last year has been to implement Freshservice as an ITSM platform for Simply Business.
Perfect, thank you guys. Could you start by telling us what your use case is at Simply Business, how you use Freshservice, what departments use it?
Yeah, sure, I can take that. So we use the Freshservice ITSM tool, obviously. In terms of the components that we use within Freshservice, we've got a really mature service catalog, heavily developed for both kind of software items, software service items, hardware service items. That spans across multiple departments. So we've got lots of access management requests coming in through our service catalog. We've got our facilities team kind of using the hardware side of it for issuing desks for remote working, chairs for remote working, all that kind of stuff. But we've got hundreds of workflow automations that we've developed to basically triage access management requests to the teams that own those systems, right? So the idea being that they're completely zero touch. Somebody goes onto the self-service portal, onto the service catalog, requests access to a system. It bypasses the IT department completely, goes to the team who own that system to fulfill that request. We've heavily customized our onboarding workflows. So with every kind of onboarding request, we get multiple tickets firing off in different directions for different teams to do to complete relevant tasks, with kind of workflow automations firing off in parallel to generate tasks within those tickets. So things like tasks to create the accounts, tasks to obviously package devices now that we're a fully remote workforce, all that kind of stuff. And then obviously our bread and butter, which is the incident problem management stuff. We very much lean upon that. And actually, something that there's a big problem. It was part of the success of Freshservice. We used to have Zendesk as our service desk tool, and we didn't have any way of kind of tracking problems. So since we've moved over to Freshservice, our problem management game is really strong. So obviously with all those different teams using Freshservice in the business, what I found is actually it's kind of promoted collaboration in a very easy way. So we, for example, what we've done is we built out a DSE request form. It's like a workplace assessment form as a service item, and effectively what happens is if somebody answers no to the question, is your mouse free to move around, what will happen is a ticket will automatically be raised and assigned to the IT group, because obviously what we want to do is we want someone from our team to reach out to the user and say, we understand that your mouse isn't working. Can we replace it for you, or can we resolve the problem for you? So that's kind of how we've used it.
Cool, thank you. It's obviously great to hear you constantly evolving and utilizing all the different features of the platform and expanding to all the additional teams within your organization. Obviously, you've been our client for a year and a half now. So I guess what would you say were your key challenges for your ITSM project in the beginning, and how have these objectives, and challenges developed or changed since then?
Yeah, great question. So when we first put together the business justification for what was a replacement ITSM tool, this was kind of like pre-COVID. So what we wanted to do was kind of have a two-phase approach to implement a new solution. And so the first phase was going to be to replicate functionality that existed already within Zendesk. And then the second phase was to effectively grow into any additional feature sets that existed in Freshservice. So things like the service catalog, things like the all the automations, business rules, all that kind of stuff. So it was a lift and shift initially, which we did in a matter of weeks, I think it was. And then once we did that, what we found was that obviously the pandemic hit, and so our requirements completely flipped on their head. All of our operational processes, we've had to completely overhaul. I'm sure everyone listening on this webinar has had the same issue, where how do you fulfill devices remotely? That was the biggest thing at the time, and actually having Freshservice there was our savior in that respect, because we could build out automations and workflows to kind of effectively handle that fully remote workforce. And then of course, in terms of how the requirements changed, it was just a service desk tool when we brought it in. We had no plans for it to grow beyond that. But actually, it's had a bit of a ricochet effect, and we've had lots of teams join the platform now. We've our application support team, who are actually separate from the IT team, have joined the platform. We've had our insurance MGA team join it. Very different use case to ours, but it works for them. We've got our people ops team, so our HR team, they're a global team. They're in the middle of joining the platform, which is great, because now we've got the kind of the trinity of IT, HR, and facilities or office management. That's the kind of key collaboration, the key collaboration teams in the same platform. So that's going to be really, really useful.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that. And obviously, you already touched on COVID-19 and new ways of working, how everything changed. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Obviously, how has the delivery changed as a result of COVID-19? How have you adapted to it? Any features that you kind of rely on day to day?
I could probably elaborate on that a little bit. I think when COVID hit, we as an organization were in a pretty good spot already. We'd done remote trials for all of our staff, including call center staff. the previous summer. So when there were whisperings of COVID, like we were already fully remote. So we were like used to having this remote workforce, but always having the come into the office if you need something, if your device doesn't work, if you need to pick up something new. So obviously, yeah, as everybody here, as James said, would know, there's been a massive change in the way that IT teams have had to fulfill things. So initially, when we were using Zendesk and operating out of a lock and store storage facility, because we couldn't get into the office, it was difficult to manage the amount of requests that we have. For example, we're based multiple sites in Northampton, London, and Boston. We have most of our IT team and most of our hardware based in Northampton. So we had a mixed system of fulfillment from the start. Some people coming to collect things, some people needing a courier sent out. And a lot of our processes at that time were very manual. We had a Google form that all that went to the facilities team, and they booked and then emailed us, and it was a lot of back and forth. With COVID still going on when we started implementing Freshservice August, September of last year, it was just amazing the amount of stuff that we were able to do in a self-service or at least semi-automated way. So when we came back into the office, we could, for example, we have a hardware service catalog of 40 plus items, and we built out forms so people could say, right, this is where I am, this is when I want it, this is how I want you to get it to me. If somebody's going to be in one of our offices, we could give them a code for a padlock on a cupboard that they could go and grab a device from. We could automatically get in touch with one of our service desk employees to package up a device. One of the really, really great things that we've done as well is have an automation set up in Freshservice for the vast majority of our peripheral devices that our hardware supplier automatically fulfills. So if you say, right, I want an Ethernet cable, give your address, that's done. The ticket automatically closes, automatically gets in touch with our supplier, passes through the address, everything is done, and we don't have to touch it. We can see when things go wrong. The tickets are still there for people to reply if they haven't had something in 3 days, but generally we have just managed to build up this fairly smooth system of fulfillment. It's been a challenging thing, and I'm sure a lot of other people have had the same things of when do we move into this, like people are back in the office thing. We need a mixed system where you can have collections, people coming to the office, and I think we're getting towards that now. So yeah, COVID has been definitely an interesting challenge for us, but we are very lucky to have had a product that allows us to do all of this. Zendesk certainly wouldn't have had the flexibility in the automation and the workflows, the service catalog. It was really been useful, and that's, I guess, has been the biggest challenge, the fully remote. I suppose adding on that as well, we've got a lot of self-service stuff, not just for hardware. So 2FA and password resets that were previously having to be done by a service desk employee. We've been able to use Freshservice to act as a kind of automation and orchestration server for kicking out webhooks to our OpenVPN instance, resetting Jump Cloud to FA, and as James said as well, all of our application access gets routed through our service desk. So BizOps own the entire process, but we are kind of shifting a lot of the work onto other teams or completely automating it away.
Cool. Thanks so much for sharing that, Josh. Obviously, it's really good to hear that this huge transition has been made easier with the right tools. So really good to hear that. I guess my final question would be, what feedback have you received from your end users?
Very positive. Initially, when the service catalog came out, it was something that people had never seen before. If you wanted something, you raised a ticket and said, I would like an Ethernet cable or whatever it is, and that could potentially take, based on the workload of the team, we're not necessarily going to prioritize somebody needing a new Ethernet cable over a major incident that we're having. So the ability to circumvent our busyness and just get things done has been brilliant. So users aren't waiting for things, and generally the feedback has been consistently good. I think it was somewhat of a novelty when it was released, just like, oh, this looks like an online shop, but I think most of our users are used to it now. We have got, I think we're still sitting on a 99% CSAT rating across all of our tickets, incidents and service requests as well. And we've always had a fairly good profile within the business anyway. We're a bit of a non-standard IT team in the way that we interact with the business and have generally a large degree of autonomy to kind of make our experience and our service the best for our users. We don't have some of these things like change advisory boards or anything like that. We're quite agile, I suppose is the word, in the way that we be able to flex. So if we do get feedback that things aren't working, which we do a lot because we work with so many different teams, we're able to quickly make those changes in Freshservice when we're working with, for example, other teams that might be getting too many emails because there's an automation that's firing too often, and we can look at reducing the noise there. But generally from our user base in terms of support and the service they're getting, been really, really great. We generally got no problems with the way that our users experience our service. We're just always looking for the next thing that we can do to make things a little easier for everyone.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for sharing your feedback. Obviously, we're very pleased that it's so positive. But thank you both for obviously coming today and sharing your experience with our audience. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Michaela.
That's great. Thank you, guys. Some really cool stuff there. And you're right. I think the stories around what's happened during, and post-COVID have been incredible, actually. So I'm so glad that things sound so rosy there, which some organizations still aren't as rosy, obviously, but that's really good. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to move on. Next, we have a break. So it's time to give everyone a chance to have some refreshments, maybe grab a tea and coffee. Please join us again at 11:40 for our next presentation from Robert Steddle and Staffordshire and Shropshire Health Informatics Services. So if you join us then, and we'll see you very, very soon. Thank you. And welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance to